Don't mind me, I got notes here. This is a very complicated video. This is a very nuanced discussion. So I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things. It's fine. We'll be fine. There are some gray areas in veganism. As vegans, we like to think that things are black and white. We like to categorize everything, and trust me, I am one of these people. I love to put things in categories, and I hate things that I can't control. But the reality is that some things are nuanced, and as vegans, we need to be open to having discussions about things with nuance. And this dilemma is one of the things within veganism that does have some opportunity for gray area. So I don't want this video to be about the ethics of eating eggs. There are plenty of other videos that go into eating eggs and all of that stuff. I will just quickly glance over the main things that you need to know, but check out the resources in the description box if you want to learn more about why eating eggs is unethical. We already know that eating eggs from factory farms is unethical. They kill baby boy chicks throughout the process. They selectively breed the hens so that they lay a ton of eggs, regardless of whether or not that's good for the chicken's health. They keep those hens in tight enclosed spaces. And they basically force them to live their lives as egg-laying machines until finally one day they kill them. But the question becomes, what if you raise those chickens in your backyard? What if you do it yourself? You can ensure that they'll live a long, happy, healthy life. They'll die of old age and not prematurely. They'll be taken care of and loved, and as a side benefit, you can get some eggs out of the equation. Isn't that morally okay? The answer is possibly. Probably not, but possibly. First off, if you purchase the chickens, the morality of the situation becomes very clear. It is immoral to purchase the chickens. If you purchase them, you're paying for chickens to be bred into existence. They're coming from a factory farm or another breeding operation where they're being treated poorly and their only purpose is to lay more eggs. Simple supply and demand here, economics. If you buy chickens, they will breed more chickens, create more chickens, and then the problem will never end. It's black and white. It's just like buying cats or buying dogs or buying other pets or companion animals. It's unethical. Adopt, don't shop. We already know this. But what if you rescue your chickens? You don't buy them. What if you rescue them even from a factory farm? So you're not shopping, you are adopting. The situation does begin to get more gray here, but overall the answer is still no, don't eat the eggs. It's unethical, and this is why. First, the main and the most important reason is that the egg laying process is actually very taxing and difficult for chickens. It leaches calcium from their body, and we have actually bred them to the point where they lay many more eggs because of being selectively bred than they would normally naturally in the wild. A chicken should lay between 10 and 15 eggs a year, and after being selectively bred, chickens lay upwards of 250 eggs, some breeds even laying more than 300 eggs per year. So they go from laying on average 1 egg a month to 25 eggs a month, which is almost an egg a day. If laying just 1 egg per month is already taxing and stressful and difficult for them in terms of their health, what about laying 25 eggs per month? What about laying 1 egg per day? Won't that be difficult too? To replenish some of the nutrients that chickens lose when they lay eggs, calcium in particular, but also fat and protein, they actually have learned to eat their own eggs. Eating the eggs replenishes that calcium, and it's actually very healthy for them. So in a sense, eggs are not a waste product, although we often think of them that way. Eggs for chickens are a food source. And when we take those eggs away from them, we are stealing a food source that is rightfully theirs for our own use. It's kind of hard to imagine this from a chicken's perspective. So let's try to put this into a perspective that we can understand as humans. Imagine you get your period 82% of the time. You're basically always on your period. You're tired, you're moody, you're chronically low in iron, but luckily there is an iron supplement that you can take that will replenish your iron stores. And it's not just any old iron supplement. It's actually a really delicious iron supplement. It's a gummy iron supplement. It tastes really good. It basically tastes like candy, and you love it. One of the only things that makes this fact that you're gonna get your period 82% of the time bearable is that you know you're gonna get your iron supplement. You look forward to eating this iron supplement basically every day. But one day, your mom comes in and decides to take your iron supplement away from you and take it for herself. Now, your mom isn't iron deficient, and she isn't even on her period. In fact, she's menopausal. So she doesn't get her own iron supplements that she can take for herself. But she likes the taste of your iron supplements. So she takes it from you anyway. In fact, she likes the taste of your iron supplements so much that one day she admitted to you that she adopted you just so that she could have your iron supplements, and not because she loved you or wanted to take care of you or valued you as a person or an individual. But your mom says that she cares about you, so as an alternative, she gives you a cup of raw spinach to enjoy instead. Is your mom being ethical in this scenario? Is it okay for her to take away your iron supplement that you enjoy so much, that is made just for you because of your specific scenario, so that she can use it for herself, even though she doesn't need the supplement, even though it's not hers to take to begin with? Is it kind of her to adopt you just so that she can have your iron supplement and not because she thinks you're valuable? I would say no, but I'll leave it to you to figure it out. There are other issues with eating eggs as well, even if they do come from your backyard. First, if you take an egg out of a chicken's nest, biologically, this encourages them to lay more eggs. In combination with selective breeding, this is one of the ways that we've managed to increase chickens' egg output so drastically. But if you leave the egg, they will potentially lay less eggs and suffer less, since we know that the process of laying eggs in and of itself involves suffering on behalf of the chicken. 2, if you have a broody hen, you know, the kind of hen that's sitting on her eggs all the time, she doesn't want you around them, she's trying to protect them. If she's broody and you take those eggs away from her, it actually stresses her out. Obviously, it's unethical to bring additional stress upon another human being when we don't have to. It's unkind and mean. Why would we do so? 3, eating chickens' eggs actually encourages us to think about chickens as objects that are only here for our own use and consumption, to the point where you should ask yourself the question, if this chicken didn't lay eggs, would I still take care of them? Would they still have value to me? And if your answer is no, then you're like 99.9% of the rest of the population, to be honest. And 4, if you start eating eggs at home, do you think that would encourage you to eat eggs when you're out and about on the town? Does eating eggs in your daily life, because you're eating these chickens' eggs at home, does that make you more likely to eat a factory farmed egg? Let's say if you go out to a restaurant, or if you go to a friend's house, or a get-together with your family. Would you begin to support this other cruelty simply because you're now accustomed to the taste of eggs? Kind of like gateway drugs, chicken style. Now, these arguments are valid, but they are not as strong as the nutrient deficiency point because they're not guaranteed. We know that it is a fact that chickens eat eggs to replenish their nutrients. We know that it's a fact that chickens enjoy the taste and the flavor of eggs. We know this because there are people all over the internet thinking about ways to prevent their chickens from eating eggs because it's such a rampant problem in the egg-laying industry. But chickens lay so many eggs at this point that it's possible that taking their eggs away wouldn't actually have any impact or increase on the number of eggs that they lay. Not all chickens get broody, especially chickens that came from a factory farm, because we've actually selectively bred that trait out of most chickens at this point. It's also possible that you don't view chickens as objects. It's possible that you do view them as a member of your family, and that you value the chicken for itself and over the value of its eggs. And of course, you may truly be committed to only eating eggs at home, and it may be no issue for you to eat eggs at home and not be tempted by seeing eggs when you're out on the town and have the possibility of getting eggs from a factory farm or some other type of farm. Which brings us to Shelbizleee. Shelbi has basically done everything right when it comes to having ethical backyard chickens. She rescued them, she adopted them, she did not buy them from a factory farm, so therefore did not, encourage any sort of extra production or support the farming industry. She also lets the chickens eat their eggs whenever they want. She doesn't prevent them from eating their eggs. And she seems to value them as individuals and care for them on a personal level. And overall, I would say she's prioritizing their needs and wants over her own desire to eat their eggs. Although it's highly unlikely, it is possible that Shelbi's chickens produce more eggs than they can actually consume. So if there was an excess of eggs, there would technically be a waste product that would otherwise get thrown away that Shelbi could ethically consume. Ethically, there is no problem with eating an egg from a rescued backyard chicken that would otherwise be thrown in the trash. This is similar to the roadkill argument, which is also another gray area in veganism. There is no ethical or moral dilemma with eating roadkill. If the animal is already dead and you didn't kill it on purpose to eat it when you didn't have to, you can eat it. If you really want to eat dead bodies and chicken periods, ethically and morally at this point, it really does become a personal choice. You really can eat them with no problem. I'm not gonna fully go into it, but there could even be an argument for having Shelbi's neighbors eat these eggs from her backyard chickens. I mean, theoretically, they're gonna be buying chicken products and eggs from like the regular grocery store, which is almost guaranteed to come from a factory farm. So the harm that Shelbi could be causing by taking away the eggs from her backyard chickens is like, a million times less than the harm that those neighbors would be causing by eating factory farmed eggs. So I think there is an argument there, but then again, you have to consider that Shelbi would need to educate those people and make sure that she's not enabling them. Like if they would otherwise go vegan and not eat eggs at all, that would be better. It would only work if they were guaranteed to eat eggs and they were never going to stop eating eggs and they were eating those eggs from, a situation worse than Shelbi's backyard chickens scenario. It could also be ethical if Shelbi was giving those eggs to someone who had to eat eggs, like let's say for a medical reason. I mean, I can't think of any medical reason right now where you would specifically need to eat eggs and not like take a supplement or something. But I'm sure there is someone out there who probably needs to consume animal products, and if they have to consume animal products, eating eggs from Shelbi's backyard chicken would be better than eating, like an actual chicken or eggs from a factory farm chicken. However, the reality is if Shelbi's chickens are laying eggs on average once per day, they're losing nutrients on average once per day. And so they're wanting to regain those nutrients, likely by eating their eggs at least once per day. Even if they aren't eating their eggs, it's likely that if Shelbi cracked them or scrambled and cooked the eggs for them, they would probably eat them. And once they started eating them, they would have no problem eating them very consistently. So there just really is no reason for Shelbi to be taking the eggs. For argument's sake though, let's just assume that there is an excess of eggs. Let's assume that there is some sort of egg waste product. Maybe Shelbi did break up the eggs for them, she did scramble the eggs for them, and they didn't like them, or they had too much and they didn't want them anymore. So she's got some leftover eggs that are otherwise going to go in her compost or in the trash. So what's the problem then? At this point, the problem really comes down to mindset, and in particular, Shelby's mindset. I would say that Shelbi is mostly vegan, although she identifies as plant-based, and I see why she identifies as plant-based. But when it comes to ethics, she is almost there. She really does understand the values of veganism, even if she doesn't fully practice them. But there are a few things that really do hold her back. And the first thing is her utility mindset. Even though she doesn't value the chickens for their eggs, she does value them for another reason, and that is permaculture. Shelbi believes that chickens are one of the best ways to fertilize a garden. She believes that they help gardens grow quicker, and it's very sustainable for the environment to garden in this way in combination with like animals and specifically chickens. So even though she clearly cares for her chickens, at the end of the day, she values their utility for her and her gardening more than she values the chickens. Helping the chickens is a secondary benefit when it actually should be the other way around. Helping the chickens should be her primary priority, and the environmental benefits and the gardening benefits should just be a secondary plus. Which brings me to my second point. Shelbi is primarily plant-based for the environment. She's plant-based for the environment first, for the animals second, which makes me wonder if eating animals was actually good for the environment, would Shelbi do it? And I think the answer might be yes. Third, from what I can tell, Shelbi follows a plant-based diet herself, and she encourages her followers to do the same, but it seems to me that at the end of the day, she views being plant-based or being vegan as a personal choice. And as a result, when she is giving her neighbors these eggs from her chickens, it's likely that she's not talking to them about the issues about factory farming. It's likely that she's not pushing them to think harder about their choices and their ethics, and that creates some blurry areas. But the most important issue with Shelbi's backyard chickens, it has really nothing to do with Shelbi herself, and it instead has to do with her followers. Although Shelbi is consuming eggs in a more ethical way, if she even has consumed eggs so far, I'm not sure that she even has. But although she's doing it more ethically, her followers are not. By showing this whole process of getting the chickens and having their coop and everything online, by talking about the importance of animals in permaculture, and by being wishy-washy about personal choice when it comes to veganism, plant-based versus vegan, and having a lackluster stance on animal ethics and animal rights, she's possibly unintentionally encouraging her followers to eat eggs, and not necessarily in as ethical a way as she's doing. And you can see this in her comment section. In her comment section, the carnism mindset is strong, y'all. It is so strong. Take this comment, for example. Chickens will eat their eggs when they need calcium. You can add oyster shells into their feed. If you're going to let them eat their own eggs, which is totally fine, just crush them up so they don't resemble an egg, and they won't get used to eating the ones you want to keep. Clearly this person is trying, she's trying to understand the problem here, but she's just not getting it, because at the end, she says, if you don't want your chickens to eat your eggs, crush them up so they don't see the connection between this thing, this delicious food that they're eating and enjoying, and the egg that they hatch. She's trying to trick them into eating less eggs. Why? So that she can consume them herself, and she's encouraging Shelbi and Madison to do the same. But if Shelbi's point was really getting across that, the chickens are allowed to eat their eggs whenever they want to, and she's not prioritizing her desire to have eggs over their desire to eat them, then this person would understand, right? They would understand that the chickens are for the eggs first and the people second, but this person doesn't. Even though she's being kind and she has a very nice response and it's a nice comment, it's not mean at all, it's still exploitative in its nature. How about this one? Oh yay, my chicks are 3 weeks old and I can't wait to get them outside into their coop. Your chicks are 3 weeks old? Okay, let's be honest. Unless this person is an activist, it is so highly unlikely that they have 3-week-old chicks that were rescued from a farm or adopted. These chicks are probably bought. Which, coming back to the original issue, is unethical. That's one of the first things we realized was unethical in this process. It is unethical to purchase chickens because it supports the whole factory farming system. It supports animal agriculture. It supports our exploitation of non-human animals. Shelbi doesn't support this system, and yet her followers are obviously not understanding that because they're openly advocating for it right here in her comment section. Here's another example. This one's really bad. Because of you, I am going to buy 2 chickens. This person just comes out and says it. Thanks for your inspiration. Now I'm gonna go buy 2 chickens. So Madison responds here and she says, you should try getting them from a sanctuary instead of buying them. And of course, this person luckily takes that into account and they're grateful for it, and perhaps they will adopt their chickens from a sanctuary now. But what about all of the people who don't adopt their chickens from a sanctuary? What about all the people who don't read that comment? What about all the other people who are thinking the same way as this commenter, but not writing their thoughts in the comment section? What about the people who are too lazy or find it too difficult to find a sanctuary when they could just Google on a website, like purchase chickens off of a website and get them sent to their house really quick, you know? Like, what about all those people? That's the biggest issue with these videos and with Shelbi's stance on backyard hens. She is so flexible in her advocacy. She's so kind of open and she doesn't want to offend anyone. She wants everyone to feel accepted and welcomed. She doesn't want to push anyone to do anything. And because of that, there is a lot of confusion here about what is moral and what is not. Now, these aren't the only comments. There are plenty of comments all over this channel that have the same message, that have the same issue. And to be honest, the response from Shelbi and Madison, even though Shelbi's take on it in the video seems to be much more clear, their responses are not very clear. And I think that may be because of Madison in particular. Maybe she has like a less strong stance on it. She's trying to be nicer to commenters because she's trying to grow this vlog channel. I don't know. But the thing is, Shelbi is the face of the channel, and so Shelbi has to be the one that takes the personal responsibility here. Her channel is encouraging people to eat eggs unethically, even if she's trying to do it in the most ethical way possible herself, which is debatable whether or not it's even possible. But if we're giving her the benefit of the doubt, let's just say that she is. Her consumption, even if it's ethical, does not mean that other people will consume ethically when being inspired by her. So overall, chickens just shouldn't exist. The only reason they exist is for our personal pleasure. The way that they exist today, as they are, is so wildly different from the way that they exist in their natural habitat in the wild. They're basically a completely different animal. And everything about them as they exist today has been created to make things easier for us to consume them, their body parts, and their excretions. It's our job as moral beings to prevent chickens from being bred into existence. It's our job to recognize this as something that is ethically not okay and put a stop to it. And overall, even though I don't think that consuming eggs is ethical from backyard chickens or otherwise, I do think Shelbi is taking a more ethical approach. If she's going to do it, this is a more ethical way to do so. And yet that still doesn't make it right. The only way to ensure that this gray area in vegan philosophy doesn't become black and white exploitation is to just not do it, because the opportunity to find an egg that is truly a waste product is so slim and so open to interpretation and subjectivity that it really doesn't become a gray area at all. It really just becomes black and white. Just don't do it. So Shelbi, please don't eat your backyard eggs, please stop talking about it online. Please take a firm stance against it so that we can end this awful animal exploitation that our society accepts. And I know that you were really worried about putting out your videos about the eggs and you expected a backlash from the vegan community, and here I am delivering on it. But I want you to know that I don't think you're a bad person. I don't hate you. I just think that our society has indoctrinated us to believe a certain way, to think that animal exploitation is fine. And it's very hard to crawl our way out of these carnist thoughts and think differently. That being said, in the grand scheme of things, this is really a minute niche issue, and it's not like I'm gonna, come after Shelbi with a sign and protest in front of her house. I mean, like Shelbi versus factory farm, right? Like, it's both is animal exploitation to a certain degree, but Shelbi is a million times better than factory farm. So, whatever. I'm just trying to be honest here and logical and really lay down the morality and hopefully teach a person or two that eating eggs is unethical even when it comes from your backyard, and it is very, very difficult to do it in an ethical way, although theoretically, philosophically possible.